Okay, so now we're going to look at another use of line, which is hatching. So this is just a practice sketch exercise. So we're going to look at three different types of ways to use hatching. So hatching, let me go with a darker pencil. Okay, so in hatching, you're using line to create shading. So if I made a value scale, so hatching is a series of straight lines. So like in one, you could leave it blank or you could put a series of straight lines. And they're only going in one direction in hatching. So in two, they would be closer together. So I'm trying to make different grays with series of lines, and in three, they would be closer together. In four, they would be closer together. Okay, and I'm just gonna do, this is not really a drawing, this is just an exercise. So I'm gonna do a simple sphere here. So I'm doing a circle. I'm just trying to get it kind of, if you want to do a sphere and you want a perfect circle, you can trace something that's circular, like a soda can, the bottom of a soda can. Okay, so there's my sphere, and here's my cast shadow. I'm going to use the line to create the shading. And you can go in any direction, but with hatching, you're only going in one direction. You can go diagonal, vertical. I'm going to go diagonal. This is the a darker area of the circle, and it's going to get darker. I'm just kind of blocking in some line work. And then I'm going to go into the cast shadow. So these lines are at the same diagonal. So it's light, like this is still very light. I'm kind of adding in slowly and I'll get darker and darker. It's lighter at the bottom. So I'm making the lines farther apart. I'm using a middle pencil. So this is an HB, which to me is light. And I'm also going to use a darker pencil in a minute. That's just my first layer. So I'm going to go into a, this is a little bit darker, so this is a B. So I'm going just over the lines in the darker area, making them darker. And I'm trying to have it ease into the lighter areas. It's a little darker on the edge. And it's not that easy to show the shading with the line, but it's easier with just shading or cross-hatching, which we'll do next. And I'm getting the 2B for the darker areas. And that's my circle in hatching. The next one I'm going to do is going to be cross hatching. So it's very similar, but the lines don't only go in one direction. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to start out the same way. I'm using a light pencil. And then on 2, I'm going to still use this pencil, but press harder. I'm making the lines a little closer together. And now I'm going in 2 directions. On this one, I'm going to do the same. Now I'm going in 3 different directions. Okay, this is a 2H, so I'm going to get the B. This can go way darker, and you could do more squares if you wanted. So I'm going to go in 4 directions here. Now that just the darker pencil made it look a lot darker. So maybe I'll do one of these sets in the darker pencil just to kind of make it look a little different from number 2. Okay. And now in the last one, I'm going to go in 5 directions. Okay, so that's cross-hatching. Basically, the lines are straight in cross-hatching. So I'm going to go back to a light pencil. I'm going to go with an HB. The 2H is a little too light. So I'm going to make my circle again. I'm making this one a little bit bigger. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing as I did in this one, but I'm going to do, that circle doesn't look quite right. I'm going to do the lines in more than one direction. So I like this one a lot better than hatching, but I'm going to start in the same way. And I'm going to start doing some diagonal lines. I'm still using a light pencil, so I may do another series of lines over these with a darker pencil. And then I didn't put in the cast shadow before, so I'm going to put in some of these. I'm going in the same two directions just to make it kind of uniform. And then when I add a darker part, I'll add a different direction, but I'm trying to keep it kind of uniform throughout rather than just going in any direction I feel it going. Okay. That's not done at all, but that's my starting point. It's kind of light up here. I'm not pressing as hard. And it gets lighter at the bottom. I did the circle a little bit bigger because there's more lines. So I'm going to get a darker pencil. I'm going to go, this was an HB and this is a B. And since this area is really dark, I'm going to start doing a series of lines in a slightly different direction. So you can go in as many directions as you want. That's what's kind of the same. So I'm going to go a little bit more this way. And these lines, again, are showing the shading on the drawing. It's still not finished, but it's getting closer to looking kind of more like shading. It's a bit time consuming. Okay, still needs a little bit of work. So now I'm going to get a darker pencil. I don't know about 6B. Let me use the 2B because there's some areas that I still want to make darker. It's okay if it turns to areas of black because there's so many lines. That often happens in cross-hatching drawings. I'm trying to make it look like a smooth transition of shading, but with line. So like this needs to blend into this. It's not really blending. It's kind of transitioning from one area of line to another. I don't like those lines right there. Okay, it's a little darker at the top. And you might get frustrated while you're doing this. It's a bit time consuming, and I feel like now I made some of the areas too dark. So if I was going to change them, I would have to erase and redraw areas of line. And maybe to emphasize, because it still doesn't have the degree of darkness that I quite want. So I'm going to get the black colored pencil and go in the darkest areas. Just, is that too much? I'm just talking to myself. Is that too much? Just to emphasize and make the darkest area darker. The pencil looks a little bit, let me get a different pencil. Hold on. The colored pencil looks a little bit maybe exaggerated. So I'm going to try to come in there with the 6B to help it transition. Okay, I'm gonna leave it. I think you get the idea. That doesn't look perfect, but close enough. I'm going to do also contour hatching, which is combining cross contour and cross hatching, but I'm going to do that on another video.